I remember sitting and just having conversation with my mother. She had become ill, and it was necessary for her to live with someone. So we made her a sweet spot in our home, and just having general conversation. Out of the blue, mother just started talking and reminiscing. And I remember her telling me her story about what she truly desired to do. And at this point, mother is too feeble to pursue her dreams. But she thought, I better get this out and at least tell someone. And I'm delighted that I had the opportunity to share that moment. It was a precious moment. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it's still near and dear to my heart. But I remember her telling me that her deepest desire was to sing and make albums. And anyone who knows my mother knew that's what she did, that's what she enjoyed doing. And I know that when she would go out to churches, I was a PK, my parents were pastors, and I grew up in that setting. And mother was always asked to sing. And when she had that moment, she glowed. It was a different person. Her persona changed. She lit up the room, and people raved about her singing. She had the honorable privilege to sing with some of the best legendary singers, Shirley Caesar and Pastor John P. Key. She actually participated and made albums with them. So she had memorable moments. She had a dream that no one else knew about but her. And just the knowing that she carried that with her, she suffered in silence. You can't possibly be fulfilled when you're carrying something and you know you're living a life that's not truly who you want to be. That's what mother did. She taught me a lot in my younger days that I now still hold on to. I think that just knowing and seeing her from day to day as a woman who was exemplary and showing us what it was to be a wife and a mother and where the boundaries fall, that played a major role in my adult life. But it also taught me that that silence is the most powerful scream. And I can truly say that my mother had two most powerful tools, and that was silence and a smile. I try my best to suppress, and I have for so long. And it's time that I become the woman that I want to be. After seeing mother go through life, all through her adult years, I heard um, Les Brown say, the richest people are in the grave. And that's true. Mother carried her dream with her. And I refuse to be one of those women not living out my dream. So I've made a stand to become that woman. And this is me, the authentic me that mother taught me. You don't have to be silent. Be the woman that God called you to be, but just be real. My mother had a saying. She would always say, baby, whatever you do, just be real. Let it be all of you and pray about it. Let God lead you where you're supposed to go. And I hold on to that. When you become married, your personal life becomes even more personal. And growing up in the Christian environment with my parents, my mother was a constant reminder of that. She always taught us that you don't share, you don't go outside of the home and share what your personal experiences are as it relates to your marriage. And that I find to be very true. As a married woman myself, I've found it a struggle to just connect with someone when there's a challenge. It's not easy. It's very personal. Those are very intimate details that you are opening yourself up to share with others. And I remember mother, and I often wondered why she didn't communicate or open up and wasn't surrounded by lots of people. She had the aura about her. She was a very sweet and humble person. Just her presence. People knew when she walked in a room, but there was something I noticed. I watched her all the time, and that was she was very careful, very selective in the people that she surrounded herself with. And that taught me that she was securing herself, and she wanted to be secure in who she was as a wife and a mother. And those details she kept intimate. She was a praying woman, and her partner in life was God. She taught us how to pray through situations, and I've got to say that's been my go-to. And looking back on that, it brings back those memories, those feelings of just watching Mother and seeing her go through different challenges. But what I learned the most was she was always a woman, she was always a wife, and she made the choice to live life and accept the love from people around her. She didn't need an audience. She didn't need to become popular. And I see in today's society, we're taught as wives to spend more focus and energy on our husbands and our children. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but we have to realize that we are still our individual selves in doing that. And from hundreds of conversations with other wives, the common denominator is we lose ourselves to our marriages and we become isolated. And that's not a doorway or a pathway for us to live our best lives because you're not communicating. We shut down that line of communication with other wives. And I think that seeing my mother go through that has put me on a different path. Although I have found myself in that very desolate, very lonely place as a wife. It's a harsh saying, but I am a believer that being married doesn't equate to being whole or loved. Friendships outside of your marriage are just as important. And my mother, unfortunately, limited herself with who she exposed herself to, and she didn't have that outlet. And I would say to you, from my own personal experience and getting off this lonely island, wives, we need each other. We offer the type of friendships that no other relationship will give us. You can't find another person that shares or shows more empathy than another woman. No one will support you like another woman. No one will cry with you. I've had a lot of lonely nights of crying. I wish that there was someone there for me, ideally my mother, bless her dear heart. But just looking back on that, you have to be able to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. My mother wasn't willing to be vulnerable. She accepted who she was and moved on with life, but later regretted it. I don't want either of you to feel that you have to live in regret. It's a dark road. So I think it's important that we pull each other in. We have to get off that island. You know, you have your rescue flag and you're afraid to pull the lever to ask for help. We become so isolated and we're not communicating, and that's the worst thing we can do. We need each other. Living an edited version of myself kept me from realizing my true potential. Going through this phase of my life and looking back at what I learned from my mother, even with just thinking about how it is for wives in general in society, we all know that women are groomed to distrust others' motives and to envy others, and oftentimes pitted against each other. And I have to be honest, we're being vulnerable. I used to be one of those individuals. I probably started the club. But if we're going to be authentic and real, I have to start with saying that this is a moment, an opportunity that I decided I was no longer going to sit back and be closed-lipped about what's really happening and where the need is. I've talked to hundreds of wives who share the same common denominator, and that is feeling isolated. I didn't share my story, although I've had this vision for over 5 years. But because of fear, I kept it inside. Because I didn't want to be judged, I didn't want my husband to be judged, I decided to live with it a little bit longer until it became too heavy for me to continue to carry. And having that feeling that something was always missing, I knew that it was time for me to unload that burden and step forward and be the person, the woman that I'm meant to be, and to be a voice, the voice that my mother couldn't be for herself, but to be that voice for other wives who find themselves in the same challenges. It's important to realize that we need each other. It's important to realize that we're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many other wives who have so much that they keep bottled up inside, but there's no outlet. So if there's nothing else that I share or offer to you, it's the encouragement to empower you to be your authentic self. That's where it starts. It's where it all starts. Be who you are meant to be. And as I'm sitting here reflecting, there were so many other things that I thought I was going to say, I wanted to say, even jotted my notes, but that's not where my heart is. I am authentic in everything that I do, and it requires me being vulnerable, even in this moment. It's uncomfortable, but you got to start somewhere, and I choose to let that be now. So for every woman, wife, who's listening, there is an outlet. There are spaces, safe spaces, where you can just be yourself and come together, a space where you're going to get that hard-hitting advice from other wives who've had the same or similar struggles, in a setting where you can just be that young girl again. No worries, no cares. I think it's important that we stay focused and get back to what reality should be, not what it necessarily is, not what society say it should be. What is it? And that is that we're wives, we're women who need to share about ourselves. That's where we get joy. And connecting with others, building those firm foundations, those unbreakable friendships. It's where we need to be. It's where I want to get us back to. If I could go back to my 21-year-old self, or anyone 21 years old, one of the most important points I would make to them would be to encourage them to follow their heart, to trust yourself, and to trust your journey, because you have everything you need right here inside of you to be successful and to live a fulfilled life. I remember during my college days at Oral Roberts University, I had an instructor that felt the need to tell me I was not on the same level as my peers. I'm a little older than most of the students in my class, but this was quite an embarrassing moment, for one, because I am called to the front of the class where my peers are sitting, and she decided to let me know that you're on a different level than the rest of the students here. And at that moment, it immediately struck a chord in me. I must admit, though, I'm human, and given human nature, I wanted to crumble, but I didn't. There was something inside of me, my mother's voice that I could hear telling me that I'm stronger than that. So I was able to get through class. But as soon as I got out of that class and I made it back to my apartment, I used my lifeline and I called my mother. And I explained to her what I experienced. And of course, her soft, sweet voice and words of encouragement gave me the energy, the boost that I needed to stand strong and not quit, because that's what came to my mind. I don't need to be a nurse. I was thinking of doing psychology anyway. But my mother was right there. She was that voice of courage that said, be who you're meant to be. Don't let your instructor dictate who you become. And I've lived with that. I've carried that. So that's been my driving force to get to where I am today. It's been a long time coming, but that's how I got to where I am today. And those little subtle reminders, those sweet reminders, the wisdom, the nuggets of wisdom that my mother shared with me, those are the thoughts that I reflect on when I'm experiencing challenges, when I'm wondering how I'm going to get through the next phase of life, or this challenge that has been trying to beat me down. But looking back, if I had an opportunity, I would say to that instructor, I made it. Look at where I am now. And I would say that credit is to God and to my mother. It's been a graceful journey, an unpleasant journey, but I'm here, and I'm here for a reason. I've come to the realization that there is a problem. Wives, there's a huge problem. We don't have a platform for wives where we can go and surround ourselves with like-minded individuals who share similar or same problems, where we can say those things that we wouldn't dare say out loud to anyone else. We need a platform where we can just go and be our authentic self, but more than anything else, so we know that there's a support system that is out there for each of us to tap into. We know that once we connect, we know that we're there for each other. There's a special bond or a special friendship that comes with that. And you won't know that unless you are in a place where you can genuinely and are willing to genuinely be your authentic self. This platform will allow you to have those moments. They're the girl time moments, back in the day when you say, I'm hanging out with my girlfriends. Those moments, you bring those moments back because it's missing since the pandemic started in 2020 and ended sometime 2023. Almost 3 years later, we find ourselves even more isolated. And I've been reading, a research study shows that women who have or develop good friendships throughout the course of their lives are healthier and are more well-balanced than those women who don't. So there are benefits to becoming and associating yourself with a group of women who are like-minded, a group of wives. This is a special niche that focuses on community and establishing genuine connections. But more than anything else, we're there to empower each other. We're there to be that support system for each other. You don't have to be a pastor's wife. You don't have to be the first lady. You don't have to have a doctorate's degree to become a part of this platform. This platform is for every wife who finds themselves in a situation that they don't feel they can share with others, a situation that keeps them separated and isolated from others. This is your opportunity. This is your platform. Let's come together and make a world of difference, there has to be social, there has to be structural change, and it starts with us. So if you're willing and you're on the same page, then let's come together. Let's create. My desire is to create a podcast. And once we get that podcast up and going, hey, all of you come aboard. Let's make this a resounding, let's make that echo and that sound that they made when they marched around the Jericho wall and those walls came tumbling down. We can be that powerful. We're stronger together than we are divided. My heart, my passion is to empower each of you and to help you move out of this space of isolation and help you to recognize that there are other women who go through those challenges. You're not alone. So why do people hire our company? Well, I'll tell you. First and foremost, wives, and I can speak to this personally, we're looking for a space that is non-judgmental. And we offer just that. We're non-judgmental. That is one of the biggest areas that I struggled with going through that dark period in my life. And once I discovered that it was important to connect with other people, and then I found that there were such people who were real and authentic and non-judgmental, it was easier for me to open up. There's a lot of women experience things in their lives that are far beyond their control. I realize that. I get that. There are details that are so intimate and so near and dear to you that you are very cautious, and you want to make sure that when I share this, that I'm in a safe space and it's not going to leave this room or this circle, and I'm not going to be judged. We're not going to judge you. We want and we welcome you to come, and that's our purpose, so that we can be that support person for you. Providing a non-judgmental environment will allow you to be more of who you are and open up and share authentically. That's our purpose of coming together. And in this non-judgmental environment, you have a space that you can just know that if I tell what my past experience has been, if I tell what my husband did to me, if I tell that I don't even want to be a wife anymore, I don't enjoy being a mother, those intimate details, that's where you come and just unload. It stays right there in that circle. Another reason I would encourage you to work with our group and people, I find it to be very important, is that there's a trust factor. I dealt with it myself. I had trouble trusting people. But when you know there's a circle of people that are on your side and coming together, that trust you, believe in you, you're more willing to share. And we want you to feel that you can trust us. We understand that this is not easy and it's a hard road, and we don't want you to regret a decision to work with us. And more importantly, I'm on your side. I've been there. I understand and I see, as a wife, a mother, a professional, it's very hard. But I can guarantee that working with our group, you'll find all the fundamentals that are very important to making a decision to even connect with someone outside of your family circle. And we can guarantee you a safe space, a non-judgmental space, and that you have someone who's fighting for you. Just like God fought for me to get where I am today, I'm on your side, and I'm willing to fight for you. What I've enjoyed most about my experience here is the staff. Definitely made me feel welcome from the time I arrived. The environment is so personable, and I can say that I've tried this before in a different setting, and I did not succeed. I did not go through with it. I wasn't comfortable. But this atmosphere created an environment that energized me, motivated me, and working with Shay Brown and his team has been beyond awesome. it's an experience that I would encourage others to just take a leap of faith. That's what I did. And meet the staff, come out and see what they're like. And being in the studio, it's an open space that just says welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a lot of laughter. They're very hyped. It's very encouraging. And Kat, I must say, she's off the chain.